all, this is Blair Cinta. This is a series I like to call Epic Drum Sounds, where I try to recreate a sound from a recording that I think is really cool, using my own drums and my own gear and my ears, and just seeing if I can make it sound the same. Side note, this video is a little haphazard with different angles and things like that. I had to do it over a couple weeks here because of different work coming in, and this week I'm working on the song by The Roots called The Seed 2.0. This song came out, I believe, in 2003, and it's a really cool drum sound. It kind of features kind of a very wide open bass drum that is predominant in the track because it's tuned to the tonic of the song, and a really high ringy poppy snare, which is kind of a la signature Questlove. This is a sound that I thought was going to be pretty easy and pretty quick to get. It was deceiving, mainly because the bass drum is tuned quite high, and it has to have that tonality in the ring of a small kick drum, but there's also a very low subby sound in it. So I tried and I tried and I tried. I tuned the head, the batter head way down and mic'd that, and tuned the front head up and mic'd that separately. I reversed it. I tried the batter head very high and the front head very low, and I could do this somewhat with the tuning. But the real trick is that the sub sound, as I'll show you as we get into this, is in tune with the track also. And what I ended up doing is actually layering a sample. And I'm pretty sure that's the way they achieved the sound. That's just my guess, but that was the only way I could figure it out. There was also some other tricky ways of miking the snare, which I ended up miking on the shell as opposed to the top. And I'll show you that also. So here's kind of a close-up look at what I was trying to get out of the bass drum. I put the FET mic real close to the edge of the top head to get a little less low end and a little less punch also. I tried it in a lot of different spots, and this seemed to be closest to getting the tone of the track. I don't know if I'd always put it there, but again, this is all about me trying to match the track. And then I had the NS10 sub mic here, of course, to try to get that super subby low end that you hear in the track. And also this kind of old school dampener here, which when you play it, maybe you can kind of see it in the video, it would kind of fly off as the drum hits and then come back on the head once it stops, once the initial vibration stops. And once that initial vibration stops, it's dampening the head a bit. So I'm still getting the ring, but then it's coming back and it's shortening the decay just a bit with that. And there's an ambassador head on the front here and a power stroke on the batter side. So for the snare, here's the Biodynamic M201 mic'd up on the shell of this Ludwig Supraphonic. I tried a bunch of different snares. I tried a wood 3x13, which I thought might give it that high spank, but I quickly came to the realization that this was definitely a metal sound. I looked up some pictures, and it seems like I saw a couple pictures of Questlove recording with a Supraphonic. So I went to that, and that definitely seemed to be the closest thing in tonality to what was happening in the track. Again, I explain in depth about why I mic the shell as opposed to the top of the head in a different section coming up here. And of course there's the 57 on the bottom snare there, which was definitely integral to this. Okay, so let's go under the hood here a little and check out what's happening with these different sounds. So first, these are the mics that I used. Mono mic, snare top,
snare bottom, kick out, and then the sub, the NS10 sub, which I didn't actually use the sound that was recorded, but I sent that to a trigger for the sample. So let me solo some of these and give you these sounds separately so you hear them. Here's the kick out. This is the resonant front head, which you hear a lot of in the actual track here. Okay, so not the most appealing sound on its own, and there's a lot of bleed from the snare there, but this is a real wide open sounding track, and that's how things sound because mics bleed. Here is the bottom snare, which was kind of integral to the brightness of and the presence of the snare in this track. Okay, so bottom snare sound, again, not that exciting, but you hear some punch from the batter side of the kick drum. Here is the snare top, which again I discussed. I mic'd it from the shell, so it got a little more of a honky sound to it. A little more sound from the shell, a little less from the top head, but definitely integral to the kind of punch of the snare. Okay, so that is the sound of the top snare. With the top snare, I'm also using some compression on here. And some of this sound that you're hearing is a relatively quick attack, so it's taking away some of that punch. I'll give you an example of that here. Okay, so what I feel that we're getting from miking the shell of the drum is a lot of the character of the metal, the material of the drum, which is metal, of course, and a little less ring from the head, as if if the mic was right above the head, you're going to hear the head naturally ringing. From the shell, we're getting the character of the drum, and we're getting a lot of that pop. Because the mic is right next to the shell. And I feel like that's what we're hearing. And of course you hear that more when we take the compression off and you get less ring. Okay, it's a very sharp, distinct sound, and then of course the compression is helping bring that ring in. And then let me show you what happens when we're adding and taking away attack. And then I'll start to roll it back here. So as you can hear, as it starts to get to around 4, you start to lose the initial kind of attack of it, and you're hearing a little more, the sustain, whatever you want to call it, just a second later. And I'm mainly trying to match it with my ears of what I'm hearing from the original track. I'm hearing a lot of bottom snare. I'm hearing a lot of pop from the snare, but there's something about that initial attack when I bring this toward 4 here, that to me it's matching the original track more. So that's what my ears are telling me. Okay, a lot of the main sound we're hearing is this mono mic. I'm going to turn the compression off so we hear it as it is in the room. So again, a lot of hi-hat, a lot of snare, and of course some kick drum in there. Here it is with the compression on. Okay, so the sound is coming alive more and becoming more splatty. We're hearing more of the room. It's bringing that crash cymbal in. The hi-hats get a little more crunchy. And we're hearing more of the character of the room that it was recorded in, which is obviously not the same as the original recording, but this is what's helping bring some ambience into this mic. And again, we're adding some attack here. Actually removing attack by making the attack faster. So here is the snare and the mono rooms together. Top, bottom snare, and mono room. So the sound is getting much fuller. We'll add the kick out. So that's the basis of the acoustic sound that's happening. Okay, so let's check out the sub, which is kind of the problem child of this whole thing for me. Okay, so with all the different tuning I tried, the sub is nice and it's there. Here it is with the kick out. So you can hear it is adding some of the tonality that we want, but from the original track that you can hear in the first couple bars where there's no bass in with the song yet, there's a low end happening that I just could not achieve acoustically, even with the sub. Even when I tuned the head down as close as I could to the tonic of the song, which seems to be what's happening. So what I did is I took this sub and I sent it to a trigger with this new program from this great guy Chris Ryan, and he sent me this trigger called App Trigger 3, which I'm just getting into. I'll probably do a different demo of this at another time. So what I did is I found a sample that I thought sounded similar, and I pitched it down to the tonic, and this is what it sounds like just on its own. Okay, what I did is I sent a bus, this pre-fader, to the triggered sub. So we're not hearing any of the natural sub. I'm just using this more as a trigger. So here's the outside kick, and this. I'll give you the outside kick first, and then I'll add the sample. So here are all the drums, and then I'll add the sample. Okay, here it is with the bass. So you get the idea. last but not least, I did throw some verb on the drums here. And let me give you the with and without. Again, that verb could have been ambience from the actual room that, for the original track that was recorded in. But for me to achieve the sound, I felt like it needed some of that extra ambience. And that's the Sound Toys little plate a lot. Pretty fantastic. Thanks for checking this out. Hopefully it was informative. Man, this was a really challenging one. At one point, I almost gave up. But I'm not sure it's the closest one that I've gotten, but I still thought it was a cool exercise, and it was definitely a learning experience for me. So hopefully you got a lot out of it. Please subscribe. Please share. Please comment. Hit me up if you have tracks you need to record, or you need a lesson. I do it over Skype or here in LA if you're around. All right. Take care. Thanks.